Good morning, everybody. So, hey, as you can see, the Christmas tree's still up. My wife and I, Merry Christmas to you to begin with, right off the top. So anyways, my wife is like a professor too. Is one of the things that she would do in addition to being a journalist. She worked at universities in Mexico, teaching philosophy and history of ideas of all things. So, I kind of like history too, and I was watching something online right now about the Lloyd Center here in Portland. And the guy's walking through the place, and I've done it myself. In fact, when I first got to Portland, I lived right there by the Lloyd Center. My wife was working out at the Lloyd Athletic Center. It's kind of a rundown part of town. There's some stuff to get into there. You can definitely wind up with people. So I'm going to do a video about that because the guy's like sitting there saying that, Portland's completely impoverished, bad crime everywhere, blah, blah, blah. Living in a house with vaulted ceilings. I don't make a gazillion bucks. I make all right, but it's not an impoverished area like the guy says. It is true that if you go to the Lloyd Center, that you're not going to find any cars in there, even though it's open. Totally true, man. I've been in there a bunch of times. You're going to find homeless people. It smells like urine. I'm going to do a video on it later today. Because my channel's not just about cartels and working in Mexico. My channel is about exposing bullshit, right? And there's a lot of bullshit out there. There's a lot of people that want to sell you something. I don't want to sell you anything. You keep your cash. You put it in your kid's mouth. It's better there than in my pocket. Which is why I don't have a fucking Patreon or any of that stuff. So, hey, it is Christmas. And my wife being the bookworm that she is, we'll get to the Lloyd Center later. We picked up some books. Because I am a fervent Christian. I do believe. I'm a believer. Maybe you are too. I'm not going to tell you what to think. But I was watching something come out recently on Sean Ryan or whatever about they still don't know what year Jesus was born. They don't know a lot of things. They don't know exactly when the books were written. They have an approximation of it. I do believe, but I think that we ought to know what we believe. So, got some books. Jesus, right? And Historian's Review of the AN. I don't know why they would write An Historian's Review of the Gospel. But I got this. Is from Michael Grant. I also got this. A History of God, right? The 4,000-year quest of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. When I was going through law school in Mexico, one of the things that was most curious to me, that I really focused on a lot, is there are 3 codes, legal codes, if you will, that were written in cuneiform. The Code of Hammurabi, the Code of Ur-Nammu, and the third one I always screw up. I think it's the Code of Ishtar. Yeah, something like that, the Code of Ishtar. And I look into this because you'll have people that sell you a lot of things that are just total bullshit. For example, you'll have modern day feminists telling you that female civil rights and stuff like that didn't come into being until just this last century, when that's completely false. If you read the Code of Ur-Nammu, there are portions in there where they state directly that if the woman gets divorced, that she gets a portion of her husband's belongings. So, people have been considerate of the other gender, the weaker, finer gender, if you will, for millennia. 3,000 years BC, 3,500 years BC. A lot of this came into being because of the agricultural revolution 14,000 years ago, to where they started sowing crops, 12,000 in that time range. And they had time to sit in one place, and they had time to invent writing systems, and they had time to start thinking things out. A lot of people call themselves Christians, and they don't think these things all the way through. They're like, hey, I believe in Jesus, but I don't know when Jesus was born. I don't know when he died. Was it AD 30, AD 32, 33, 34, whatever? Kind of a big deal. kind of a big deal in the sense that all of the major New Testament Bibles or books in the Bible were written, the canonized Bible, not the Ethiopian, we'll get into that later, were written about half a century after Jesus died. And this is a big deal because when we start thinking about things like, think of the World War II and the age a lot of us are. We couldn't write anything accurately at that point in time if we were writing it half a century after the fact or even 3/4 of a century after the fact. So, my proposal is this, is that we read, right? The history of Christianity, right? Columbia History of the World. The handbook to the history of Christianity. And start getting into how and when and where and why the Bible was compiled the way that it is in the Western world, not in the Eastern world or in Ethiopia, which is to say, which isn't, is Ethiopia Western, Eastern? It's not Asian, it's not Western, it's its own thing. But getting into understanding what we as Christians, and that is a Christmas tree. It's not a holiday tree behind me, it is a Christmas tree. If it's offensive, I don't care. I'm not here to be making friends and shit. I'm not here to sound all educated and shit like I hear on all these other videos too. He's trying to sound educated. Toma. I'm sitting here trying to understand my relationship with my God, be a good husband, go to work hard, keep my word, and try to be a pretty good human being in the process. And I think that holds true for most of us. But we should understand that Bible that we say we believe in, and we should understand Jesus. We don't know the exact date that Jesus was born, even that one. Is it December 25th or is it January 7th, like with the Orthodox Church in Russia, right? Because I live there too. And then what day he died or was crucified. Kind of a big deal. Or why the Romans are using the Christian Bible to sit there and unify their slave kingdom, or there's a lot of different things we can go down that path. And talking with the bishops, which were politicians of the day, to get them to put together a Bible to unite the Roman kingdom or empire. So, these are like little things that we should be digging into on Christmas. The Bible tells us to seek out all this knowledge and whatnot. And I've studied a lot of things during the course of my life. Buddhism. Not that I've ever been a Buddhist, I have not. There was some cute Oriental chick one time that got me to go chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, but that was as far as that went. It was just, I went there once and knew it wasn't for me. But you check out these different things during the course of your life to see what's what. You should. And my proposal to you, my challenge to you, and I'm going to do it myself with these books that I bought, is to sit here and expand our knowledge on the God that we say that we're adherents to, his doctrine, his dogma. And I would just like to throw that out there and propose that to you. That's what I'm doing, and maybe you should do it for yourself too. I'll make a video on this later about it, but obviously I got to read some more books first. I just think that it's interesting that the Bible was written in the year 350 AD when Jesus was crucified, 30 AD to 33 AD, and they don't even know exactly which year, much less which day. Kind of a big deal. Why don't they know? And they say that, it's the difference between the Judaic calendar and the Gregorian calendar or whatever, but that's not true because the Jews actually number the years going all the way back some 5,000 years or something, and they have no problem dating everything else, but they can't date that single day. I don't buy it. Then on top of it, because I'm not formatting this at all. These are just thoughts that I'm firing off at random. So that's one chief argument. You know what? Maybe I will save it all for another video that's dedicated directly to this. They don't know what day Jesus was crucified. Big deal. That is a big deal. They know exactly what day the Civil War started back in 1863 or 65. I think it was 63. I'm not a history major. That's my wife. She's still mad at me about that. It's a lot of with you guys. One sec, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this, guys. You're gonna love this. Here we go. She shouldn't have bought me that, man. I'm gonna scare her with it again in the middle of the night. We ought to investigate the world around us, and a lot of us are Christians, and we don't even investigate that. You know, I'm starting to notice this. The more that I think about the Constitution, how many people say that they believe in it, they'll defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. They don't even know what it says. A lot of them don't even know that the 10 Amendments, your Second Amendment rights, weren't even included in the original Constitution, which is why they are amendments. Got a lot of people in this world that think a lot of things, and they never even took the time to look. So, hey, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just here to throw some stuff out there. If you dig it, cool. If you don't, that's okay too. I don't want any of your money. I'm grateful that I had 10 minutes of your time. Merry Christmas to you. God bless. Jesus is for everybody. All right? That's the one constant thing that I've always believed in, that you can't deny anybody access to Jesus Christ. That is a major, major deal. And so anyways, I do believe, but I also believe that we ought to speak with knowledge and that we ought to expand our knowledge. So hey, from my house to yours, Merry Christmas to you. Sorry I didn't post anything, but I've been busy doing the family thing. Got a little bit of heartburn right now because this coffee is not Dunkin'. Dunkin' coffee, the best. Shameless plug. Cheers, guys.